Hey everybody, Bull to the Bust. It is Saturday, August 22nd, 2020. Wanted to get this video out today. I've got a lot of news to cover. Also was just thinking about a lot of things and wanted to get this off my chest and get it out to you guys. So thank you for joining me on this Saturday episode. Here's some of the topics we're going to cover. Americans are raiding their retirement accounts. Warren Buffett runs from the banks. Banks are bankrupt. And major banking crisis is coming fast. That's a quote from a very well-known individual, investor, market analyst. We're going to talk about that. But let's start off this episode with a summary of where we're at in this country and across most of the globe, unfortunately. And across the globe, we are all stuck or trapped, however you want to put it, within this banking system, this economic system, this financial system based on money created out of thin air. And when it comes to the creators of this currency, it is done in secret. We don't have a way to fully see or understand where the money's truly going, what it's being used for. There are reports that we can see, some information that they put out there. Is that information correct? Is it not correct? Well, we don't know because we can't look inside the books, but we can see a lot of evidence and things are not looking very good. I mean, this country, and I try not to sound like an alarmist on this channel. There's only a few channels out there on YouTube that are really laying it out there like it is. And no one has an exact time frame on when this system is going to collapse, but I think we need to really start preparing. If you haven't started yet, now is the time. But we know that there's a lot of danger ahead. We're going to see the financial situation get worse, in my opinion. We're already seeing pockets of chaos in this country, in the United States, and we're seeing just endless propping up of this system with the fiat funny money currency holding things together for now. Now, not for everybody. There are people that are already feeling the effects of this devastated economy, and we see homeless jumping up. We see evictions are still happening even though there's supposed to be a restriction on evictions. The whole thing is a mess, but let's get into the news here. This economy, this shutdown, recession, depression, whatever you want to call it, was implemented, and we're now seeing Americans raid their retirement accounts. Now, we know that ever since March, we reported on it here, there's no longer a penalty for withdrawing your retirement accounts early, right? It's something that I don't think most people really should do. Do your due diligence, but if you have to, people are taking it out to pay down debt. And let's show you the numbers on this. All right, now this one came out a few weeks ago, but it's still happening. So many people withdrew the maximum amount, which is $100,000, from their 401k retirement accounts. Now, one word of caution, they did waive the penalty. It was a 10% penalty that you had to pay before the age of 59 and a half. But as of now, you're still going to have to pay taxes on it, according to this article, unless something changes in the code between now and the next time you have to pay the taxes on this. And this is millions of people, and it gives some examples here. Fidelity alone had 711,000 account holders that took early distributions between April 1st and June 30th. And this is another warning sign. People are struggling to get by right now. When people start pulling money out of their 401k, to pay off debt or maybe just to keep a roof over their head, this is a very, very dangerous sign. And these signs have been adding up for many years. We need to look at this and ask ourselves, how are things going to get better when we have an inflationary economy, right? The Fed endlessly liquefying the markets, keeping prices propped up, keeping asset prices rising. And now people are taking their retirement accounts to pay off debt. Money that people had stored away or put away to retire, a lot of people are just paying down debt with it. So money people had saved is now going to banks, to credit card companies to pay off debt, to pay off loans, to pay their mortgages, maybe even to pay their rent. Right? So this is another part of the wealth transfer. People are liquefying their savings accounts, checking accounts in many cases, retirement accounts. This is another part of the wealth transfer that we're seeing in this country. The rich continue to get richer, the poor get poorer. And it's just another warning sign, everybody. Next topic here, Warren Buffett runs from banks. Banks are bankrupt. Now, why do we say that? Because banks are lending out money they don't have via the fractional reserve system. So technically, the banks are bankrupt. If everyone went and took all of their savings and all of their money out of their checking accounts and liquidated their CDs from these banks, they would not have any money to lend. But the problem is they still would, because it's just digital money. So the numbers on the screen would be negative at the bank, but they would still be able to lend money, because again, you don't have to have any money. If you're a bank, you can loan out money you don't have, and they get money for essentially free with the rock bottom interest rates. And it's a different set of rules for the banks than it is for you and I. If you and I tried to do that, that would be considered fraud. We'd get locked up for it. But the banks, they are above the law. They're too big to fail. They have been given an endless amount of get out of jail free cards, no matter what they do, no matter how crooked. It's pretty sad. And this is going to have a very, very dire and a bad ending when this Ponzi scheme, when this house of cards finally comes down. But let's take a look at what Warren Buffett did here recently. Forbes.com right here. Warren Buffett dumps U.S. bank stocks and buys gold mining stocks. Right? What does Warren Buffett know? What is going on with the banking system and what's happening with precious metals? Is something big about to happen? Well, the warning signs are on the wall. We've been warning here for a couple years. Fortune also reported on this. Warren Buffett traded Goldman Sachs for gold, and Berkshire Hathaway newly revealed portfolio. So maybe Buffett thinks that the banks are not going to be propped up forever by the monopoly money bankers. Let's talk about this next. Banks are bankrupt. This is a quote, major banking crisis coming fast. Now, you never know the time frames on these, but more and more people are sounding the alarm. The banking system is insolvent, and we're already seeing coin shortages, limits on withdrawals that people can take out of their accounts, because the banks are running low on cash. Remember, digital money and physical money is a lot different. They had unlimited amounts of digital money they can lend out, but physical money and coinage, not so much. Robert Kiyosaki tweeted out the following, quote, why Buffett is out of banks, banks bankrupt, major banking crisis coming fast. Fed and Treasury to take over the banking system, question mark. Fed and Treasury, quote, helicopter fake money directed people to avoid mass rioting. Not a time to think about it. How much gold, silver they own, unquote, the end of his tweet there. All right, so a lot of information in that tweet. Now, yes, the Fed did get taken over by the Treasury here recently. Is it temporary? Is it going to be permanent? Is there something bigger on the horizon? All right, the pockets of chaos that we are seeing now, I think, are likely going to explode into a lot bigger scenario here in this country and probably across the world. Remember, before the shutdown, we were seeing economic uprisings in many different countries, and it's very interesting that this shutdown happened from this infection, right as things were starting to hit the fan. And if you believe in coincidences, you might say that's just lucky timing, that this shutdown happened just in time to quell all of these uprisings and protests. Or if you're like me, you think that there are no coincidences, that everything happens for a reason. All right, and this is worldwide. Look at this headline here. This is out of Reuters. Australians rush to raid pensions, repay debt. And it bodes ill for big banks. All right, the banks are not prepared for people taking out all of their physical cash. All right, banks are leveraged to the hilt. They're technically bankrupt. It's only the laws that are in place and the lack of regulation that keeps the banks alive at this point. Technically, they should be bankrupt, like all of the small businesses that we saw bankrupt here over the past few months. All right, technically, to fix this, they would have to make it to where banks could not lend out money they don't have. And to do that, you'd have to have some sort of asset-backed currency. That's why a lot of people are looking to gold and silver, not just as a hedge against inflation or hyperinflation, but to have those assets there for what comes next. After this system fails, there's too many people, but they're looking at it as a transition into the next system. Now, keep in mind, fiat currencies have failed many times in the past. All fiat currencies fail, but now we have more people alert and awake because of the internet, and a lot of people weren't even on the internet until the mid to late 90s. And now most of the people are internet connected, so people are aware now. I should say some people are aware. Most people still have no idea what's going on. People believe the illusion or the lie that this was the best economy ever before the shutdown. They thought that this endless debt system was sustainable forever, no problems, nothing to worry about, no preparation needed. I'd say less than 1% of the population has any idea, even the facts that we talk about here, and the way the system actually works. And I really hope after this next economic collapse, there's going to be many people out there holding the ones responsible and holding people accountable. All right, but it looks more and more like they're dividing people to go against each other instead of pointing at the true perpetrators, and that's the danger. Prepare for more chaos. We see pockets of chaos in the cities right now. Prepare for that to get worse, especially because the events we have later this year in November and beyond. And I would recommend you just prepare for the worst, pray for the best, hope for the best. I pray for each and every one of you that you're doing well. Thank you for supporting me by viewing this channel. Thank you so much for everybody over at Patreon. We're going to start doing more uploads over there. Things get crazier and more chaotic. There's going to be more topics that we have to talk about over on that other platform over on Patreon that doesn't fit well here on this channel and may be frowned upon if we talk about it here on this channel. But thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your support. Bye for now.